Hello everyone and welcome to Crusader Kings 2. I haven't played this in a while, but I am a massive fan of this game. I think it's probably one of the best systems designs I've ever played with. And I'm hoping that as I play through this game I can talk about you know, sort of how to play it, because it's honestly a little bit dense to start with. But also, I'd like to sort of showcase the awesome stuff this game can do, because it looks very dry, it looks very complicated, but it's actually really immersive. So let's get going. So I am playing as King Kresimir IV, the Great of Croatia. So one thing you want to do when you start the game, at least when I play, is click this little shield here. And this shows the realms in much clearer colors. So this area here, Croatia, this is my whole sort of territory. This is where I am sort of the boss. So I'm top of the food chain because I'm a king. And if you zoom in a little bit, you can see all these areas. So these are called duchies, right? These duchies? Yeah, duchies. Counties, sorry. So these are counties, and counties are usually inside duchies. So see the Duchy of Croatia, this is this golden line around it. So each of these is sort of part of a greater, they're sort of puzzle pieces working towards a bigger whole, and the whole for me overall is Croatia, which is this whole area here. So starting Crusader Kings is pretty intimidating, because what it does is it literally just throws you in straight into 1066 as any character in the entire map. You can play as everyone except some certain republics and stuff if you don't have the DLC. So yeah, I think you spend a lot of the time before you even press the continue button. So the game's paused at the moment, and before you start anything you kind of need to get your bearings and figure out what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, which areas you want to sort of take to expand your kingdom, and then sort of you need to get your house in order and figure out, are people going to be betraying you? Are people going to be close allies? Will someone go to war with me? Maybe the Hungarians, maybe the Byzantines, maybe even the Holy Roman Empire. So let's start with that. So let's first have a look at our character, King Kresimir IV. So I actually haven't played since the latest update, so there might be some things I'm not actually sure what they are. Like this, for example, a feudal government. So it revolves around the oath between liege and vassals. So I think this is normal. So before, I don't think there was this distinction of feudal. But yeah, basically, I'm the top. I'm the boss man. People below me are vassals. And they own these areas here, and then inside those areas they have a court and people they're in charge of. So I'm sort of like the CEO of Croatia, and then these guys are like sort of the VP of Senj, the executive vice president of Rama. So like these guys are sort of my board, and I have to make sure they're all happy and they all support me as a CEO and the vision I have for Croatia. So, I'm feudal, so that means I have all those vassals. I am Catholic, so most characters are Catholic in this game, and you are beholden to the Pope, who is honestly just a complete asshole half the time. Like, if you just want to keep him happy, because otherwise he can bring down a world of pain on you. So I have a wife, Queen Miroslava of Croatia. So if you see if you highlight any character, you can see some details about them. So first is their age, not that important, but the next two are very important. So there's the opinion of me and my opinion of Miroslava. So unlike many games where relationships are sort of on a scale, and I feel the same way about Miroslava as she feels about me, it's not that realistic, and there's not that many interesting dynamics you can get from that sort of system. But this one, you can like people and they can hate you, or you can hate people and, look down on them and think they're scum. But they can revere you and, really think you're the bee's knees. So I really like the way that this game sort of takes care of relationships with this sort of dual relationship opinion system. So my guy is pretty good. These are his sort of statistics. So each of these corresponds to certain actions in the game. So the first one is diplomacy. The second one is combat, martial, sorry. The third is stewardship. Fourth is intrigue, and the fifth is learning. So starting from the top, diplomacy, it sort of influences those opinions. So you see, you can see here Miroslava. I'm not a big fan of her. If she had higher diplomacy, there would be a bonus to my. There we go. So you can see personal diplomacies here. So personal diplomacy plus 27. So the things that I have done as this king, my diplomatic actions have made my wife like me 27 more. And she's also attracted to my strong hot body. So a lot of things, if you click, let's say, I'll click Rama and see the guy there. So this is his opinion of me. So state diplomacy, unlike personal diplomacy, this is a sort of passive sort of diplomacy. So before, I'd sort of made Miroslava like me with some diplomatic actions, but this is my state diplomacy, and this value sort of gives me bonuses to opinions with everyone in the game, actually. Yeah, not just inside my area, but also foreigners and other kings and queens and various earls and nobles and that sort of thing. So diplomacy is very important. It unlocks lots of actions that you can sort of, when events happen in the game, there's certain actions you can perform to respond to them. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. And diplomacy usually gives you more options as well, which is really useful. The second thing is martial. So this is all about war. So it's pretty much used for one thing, actually two things. So the first is you can raise more troops. So in Crusader Kings, you don't have an army at any one time, all the time. You never have an army. You have to raise the troops from these areas. So if I go to Zagreb and I click this button here, then 786 people from Zagreb sort of sign up to the army. And then basically what I do, if I want to go to war and invade someone, I'll take all the people from every sort of area and then sort of raise all my troops, take the husbands and their sons away from their wives and sisters, and then send them into war. So martial helps with that. It helps you get more people. It also helps you when you're leading an army. So when you raise these troops, for example, if you click these guys, you can see who's in charge. And this value here, this 16, is your martial value. So my one is 14. So as you can see, this is the combat system is sort of automated, and units attack each other over time. And these are sort of the bonuses I get in different parts of the combat system. So martial's pretty good, but it's not the ultimate important statistic. Stewardship, on the other hand, is very useful. I really like stewardship, so that it has two major sort of deciding factors of why it's, I'd say, the second most important statistic. So the first is that you get more money, so you can see your tax rates and all that sort of stuff. Being better at stewardship gets you more money. You're better at collecting tax, you're better at organizing the realm. The second thing it does is it also increases your demesne. I think that's how it's pronounced. I actually never said that word out loud before as I play this game. So your demesne is the amount of land, these areas that you directly own. So when I was saying I was the CEO before, that's true. But I am also I'm the CEO, and I'm also the Vice President of Croatia, the Duchy of Croatia. I am also the senior management of Zaclumia. So all these things are like areas where I am in charge of stuff, and that is limited. Like the amount that you can do that is limited because people don't want a micromanager. much like a CEO, you don't want a CEO that's constantly fiddling in the affairs of sort of their subordinates, right? You need to delegate. So your stewardship determines how many things you can directly control, because it is better to directly control things in this game, because as you'll see, you can't really rely on people as much as you think you could. And this game is all about backstabbing and betrayal, so it's good to have things that you know are yours. Okay, so that was stewardship. The fourth is intrigue. So this is your ability to discover plots and discover people deciding to do things against you. Maybe oh, I'm in charge of Senj, but maybe the Count of Zadar, sorry, Budek of Zadar. Perhaps he wants to kill me so he can take Senj from me. So he might start a plot, and then my ability to discover that plot is my intrigue value. So it determines, my chances of uncovering plots, but also carrying them out myself. So if I want to assassinate someone, I need to start a plot. Maybe I want to kill Budek of Zadar. So my job will be to start a plot, get people to help me out, sort of have a little gang of plotters, and then the success rate of that is determined by my intrigue. The final one is learning, and I'm just going to ignore it. It's not very important. In this game, I've played many hours of this game, and it has never been a very useful statistic, so I'm just going to ignore it to keep things simple. So, that is my main traits. So, I'm King Crusader. I'm in charge of Croatia. I'll just put these guys away. So I'm in charge of Croatia, which is made up of all of these lands at the moment. And I am also in charge directly of 4 of them. So I have 4 titles, 4 areas I'm in charge of. So I'm in charge of Senj, Usura, Zaklumia. Senj, Usura, Zaklumia. I think I should be in charge of something else with my Demesne. Mostar, Usura, Senj. Trogir, I'm in charge of Split as well. So, yeah, I'm as a guy with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 sort of counties in his realm. I am in charge directly of 4 of them. So that is what King Crusader is all about. So that is sort of his basic capabilities, how he will operate in the game, how good he is at doing certain things. Now these are his sort of traits. So these are like the very personal sort of personality, character development sort of things. So as you can see, I am an elusive shadow. So my guy is good at intrigue. When he became of age, which is I think 16 in this game, he gained this trait which made him very good at intrigue. So very good at plotting, but also very good at organizing his troops and diplomacy. It made him worse at stewardship. I am strong, so strong is very good. You can see all these bonuses. So in Crusader Kings 2, I am playing as King Crusader IV, but I'm not really. He is currently sort of my representative of the what's it called? How the hell do you say that? Trepimirovic. So I am House Trepimirovic. A bit like House Stark or House Greyjoy or something in Game of Thrones. So that is my house, right? So this is what I'm actually playing as. I'm not really playing as King Crusader, but he is my current representative. So as you play the game, you have sons and daughters, and you need to increase the power of your bloodlines to make sure that each person you have in charge and representing your house is pretty badass, right? So if you look at Game of Thrones as an example, Ned Stark, he was pretty good. He was good at war. He was good at diplomacy. He was very bad at intrigue. I think he would have had probably a single figure sort of score for his intrigue. But Robb Stark, for example, his son was pretty bad at diplomacy, but he was also very good at war, and I think he was pretty good at stewardship. At least he managed to get all his people to fight for him. So in the same way, Kresimir, when he has a son, we'll get into heirs later, but when I have a son, I have a chance to pass on this strength to my son or my daughter, which will make my bloodline better, which means that my character, when he dies, will be replaced with an even better character, or at least one that's just as strong. So strong's good. The next thing is just. So my guy, he's good at justice. You know, he delivers the correct punishments. He doesn't believe you should be able to get away with things if you've been a bad guy. So that makes him good at stewardship and learning. It also means people like him a lot. People that don't like justice don't like him as much, but typically justice is a good thing. Patient, once again, this is another good thing to have. So there's this concept of 7 virtues and 7 sins, I think. Is there anyone with a sin? Yes, so there's the 7 virtues and the 7 deadly sins. That's sort of theming for these polar opposites of personality traits. So I am patient, for example, so that makes me better at pretty much everything. It's better at defense when I fight. It's better at 4 of those statistics. But people that are wrath, so they have the deadly sin of wrath, don't like me as much. So my wife is actually a sinner of wrath, which makes her better at war and worse at intrigue and diplomacy. And also remember, it makes the person with the opposite trait dislike them. So yeah, that's sort of a theming of these traits. So there's the ones that are in the heart, which are sort of bloodlines. Then there's the green circles, which are the virtues, and then there's the red circles, which are the sins. Those two are sort of polar opposites. Then there are some other sort of non-themed ones, like they don't have this sort of mechanical link between others. This is just, my guy's just zealous. He just is. That's the way he is. So it means I get more piety, which is sort of like religious points. Better at war. Everyone from the church likes me more. And everyone who's religious with the same trait as me likes me a lot more. But it does mean that people with different religions, like Islamic or pagan, they really dislike me. Like -50 is a lot of minus. So yeah, zealous is a trait which sort of helps you get lots of allies that are sort of like you, but it also means that you sort of you piss off enemies a lot more if they don't happen to be of your religion. And I'm charitable, so charitable is good for my diplomacy and church opinion. So it's good. It's good that I am. My character is pretty strong actually. Like the stats aren't so great. Like you can get them up to like the 20s and stuff, but it's a solid start. And he also has a combat modifier, which is cool. So because he's patient and because he's quite good at war, his martial influence, as you can see, I'm 14, and here I've got a 1.7 times bonus to defense. And I have a personal combat skill of 2. So that is King Kresimir. As you can see, like from these traits, there's a single sort of a number here, and then there's one in brackets. So the one in brackets is my state diplomacy, and that is a mix of my personal stuff, which is 13, but also my spouse. She contributes, I think, 50% of her diplomacy to me, and then my counselors. So let's go into counselors, because these are the guys who will sort of perform your actions as a lord or a king. Ooh, what are these? I haven't seen these before. Huh, cool. So that's a new feature. Anyway, so these are my council. So when I was talking about that sort of board of directors thing earlier, these are sort of like your advisory council. So each of these is tied to the traits that we talked about before. So a chancellor is sort of like your diplomatic guy. My guy is very good. 22 is pretty good. I'm a big fan of that. So first things first, he has 3 actions he can do. So first his 22 diplomacy is directly added to my state diplomacy. So this is brilliant, super important. State diplomacy is more important than personal diplomacy. So it's very good. If you've got a guy who's really crap at diplomacy, you can get a really good chancellor and sort of flip that to your advantage. Each of these guys has 3 abilities they can do, and they can only do one at a time. So the Chancellor can improve diplomatic relations. So he will go into an area, and there is a chance, I'm not sure when it ticks, like how often it triggers, but he has a 68% chance per year to improve relations with that lord. So that is I think the personal diplomacy that Miroslav had with his wife, for example. This was a result of a chancellor improving relations. Second thing he can do is fabricate claims. Now this is really useful. So in Crusader Kings, there's not really much of a goal to the game, but most people want to make their land bigger. Right? Like if I'm from Croatia and Duklia was, part of my territory at one point. I think it was actually Dubrovnik. Is that Croatian? Let's just say it is. It's next to Split, so it's got to be Croatian. Okay. So if I want to take these areas, I might have a claim to it. So perhaps my guy is the son of someone who was in charge of Dubrovnik. So therefore, I would be able to say, hey, this area was part of my land, part of my family, and some other asshole has taken it from me. So I have a right to that land, and everyone in the world will recognize your right to that land. So they're like, okay, if you want to take it, you can go to war. If I want to take, let's say, Vas, if I just want to take it, and it's nothing to do with Croatia, it's nothing to do with my family or my dynasty, then I'm not allowed to go to war. I have to have a reason to do that. So, if you don't want to improve relations, you can fabricate claims, which gives you a sort of a way to get recognition that you have a right to this land, so then you can go to war. So fabricating claims is extremely useful, especially when, let's say you have 3 out of 4 counties required to control a duchy, but you don't have a claim to that final county, and you can then fabricate a claim, and then you'll have the right to get that land and then complete the duchy and build a new title, which is a cool thing you want to do. Final thing the Chancellor can do is he can sow dissent. So basically you can use him offensively to stick him in any land that you don't really own, and then it will create problems between the guy in charge and his vassals and the people below him. So let's say someone did this to me, they did sow dissent. Let's say they did it in Zagreb, then there is a chance that all these vassals, maybe one of them or 2 of them or more of them, will start to dislike me because someone else is sowing dissent in my land. So this is sort of an offensive thing. If you want to take a place and really like ruin the guy's morale, and ruin sort of his fighting force and encourage a rebellion, you could send a guy in there, and then hopefully instead of invading yourself, someone will do it for you. So yeah, Chancellor is probably the most important character you have. Yeah, so that's good. We like the Chancellor. The Marshal is boring. The Marshal basically, I've only ever used him to do one thing, except this one time. So basically what you want to do with the Marshal is you want to do train troops. You want to find this area with the most troops, Mostar, which is the county capital. I don't know where that is actually. Senj, Trogir was in Split, and Usura is there, so Zaklumia must be the head of my area. Yes, Mostar. So this is the capital of my land. So what this guy does is he just increases the reinforcement rate of your troops. So remember when I said that you raise troops from the population, you send them across the world to have a fight? He will increase the speed that new troops are sort of there to replace him. He also increases the levy size, so the amount of guys that you can get from each land, he increases that too by a percentage. So by sticking him in Mostar, it increased my levy size by 47%, if I remember right. Yes, 47.5%. You can do one other thing, which is suppress revolts. So if you have, let's say, a county that decides to not be Catholic, That will piss off a lot of people, and they're really angry at you because you're not Catholic. So you sometimes need your marshal to go to that land and sort of arrest people, make sure that the people don't rise up against you, because that's generally quite inconvenient. So that's the marshal, super easy. He's also good at leading your army and your troops, so that's also really useful. So marshals are cool. They're good in lots of diplomatic stuff too. Steward, also, he has two things that he basically does. He can collect taxes, which increases the money you have, so you can click him, find the place with the highest tax. At the moment, it doesn't matter. And then he will increase the tax rate. So now I get more money per month from having him there. You can also oversee construction. So if I wanted to build something in Mostar, for example, like castle fortifications, if I build that, it will take 171 days, but if I put my steward in there, it'll be much quicker. So sometimes it's useful when you're building things that will take multiple years to complete. Sometimes it's worth giving up some of the money that you would have got from the taxes in order to speed up the construction. The Spy Master is also incredibly important. Like, I'd say the Chancellor is the most important, then the Spy Master. Even though I find stewardship, at least in my experience, to be more useful as a trait, the Spy Master is a very useful active guy. So he can do two things. Like, as you'll notice, these things like researching technology, it's not that useful. Like, technology in this game is so under-designed, I feel it's just not very useful, so we can just ignore them. So the Spy Master can do two things. He can scheme, means I can put him anywhere and he will find out, he will find out possible plots, and he will, if there's a lord or a vassal that doesn't like me or wants to join a bunch of my enemies to maybe overthrow me, he can discover things that would discourage them from joining my enemy's team. So that's pretty useful. The next thing is you can build a spy network. So when you do that, it increases the amount of bad intrigue events that will happen to someone else. So a bit like how So Descent made local nobles hate me more. If someone built a spy network, it would mean there'd be more chances for bad things to happen to me. So let's say Dragan really hates me and he has a plot against me. If he has a spy master building a spy network where I am living, it would increase the chances of him succeeding with his plot. So the spy master can be defensive and offensive. Very useful. Court chaplain, much like the marshal, he does one thing. He can prolestize, so if you have like a heretic religion, he can remove that, so that's kind of cool if it happens, which is usually very rare. But mainly you want to do improve religious relations and not stick him in Rome, because remember, the Pope is a bastard. Okay, so they are my councillors. So right now I'm not going to assign all of them. My Spy Master and my Chancellor are needed for very specific tasks, so I need to know more about my area and my people before I decide where to put them. So up here are your sort of notifications. So the first one is I can create a title. So I can create the Duchy of Bosnia, which is Rama plus Usora. So these two together, these are counties. But if I had a duchy of Bosnia, it would be this whole area where this gold is, of both of them. So titles are cool. You want to create them because you can then delegate them to other people. If you were in charge of, let's say, the county of each of these, that means your demesne is increased by 2. But if you make it a duchy, then it would change it into 1, if I recall correctly. But they're expensive. It's expensive to make a title, but it gives you prestige, which is great. Prestige is your score. This is sort of honestly, it's not that important, but all it does is it just determines how well you've done compared to the time you did before. So when you die, your prestige and your piety are added up and then put in your score, and then that score is passed on to your next character. So prestige is just like brownie points. It's not too useful, but it doesn't hurt. It's always worth getting some prestige. Next thing I had to do is pick an ambition. So ambitions could vary, like mainly they're to do with sort of three things: getting married, having a son, and if my guy is weak, I typically will get one that says like improve learning or improve intrigue, and I like doing them because they improve your base stats, which is always useful. These ones like become exalted among men. These are sort of very difficult to do, but they do provide you with a ton of benefits. Like look at this, like if I become a paragon of virtue, I get 100 piety, I gain 1 learning. All the bishops and the Pope love me, but like plus 50 is very good. Like if you're one of these guys, you can't piss off the Pope basically. If I want to be exalted among men, then all my vassals like me a lot more, I get some prestige, and I get a diplomacy point. But as you can see, it costs 1,000 prestige. So I'm pretty much a long ways off from that now. So the first thing I want to do is have a son. Sons are good. It's the way the family name is passed on, so it's important to have a son and not a daughter as an heir, which is a sign of the times, unfortunately. There's definitely no equality in 1066 between the genders. So the next thing I need to do is pick a character focus. So I have the Way of Life DLC, which basically lets you do this. So you can pick sort of a thing you want to focus on. Like let's say I want to make more money, I could pick business and it will give me these benefits. It will make my stewardship better. It will make every vassal in a city, which are inside the counties, like me a bit more, which is good. I like that. But let's say I want to have a kid. Yeah, let's say I want to have lots of sex and have a son. Then I might pick seduction, because then I can get some higher fertility and some sex appeal, which means it's easier for you to get laid. But I could also pick family, which does the same for fertility, but increases my health and my diplomacy. And these things will sort of give you little events that you would not normally get that can help you improve certain relations with people or sort of ways to get more money. Like if you got the business one, people come to you with business opportunities, which you do not get if you do not have the business focus. If I was plotting, I would pick intrigue. It's really cool because you can spy on people, and you can also free people from captivity, which is very cool. Let's say your heir has been captured in battle, you can sort of start a project, an operation to get him out of prison, which is very cool. So I need to pick one of these. Right now I want a son, and it's always good to make your family like you, because your family, while also part of your house, are also your biggest threats. They obviously have claims to all your lands, remember, because these lands are in the name of your family and not just you. So I will pick family, and it means that I'll be more healthy, more diplomatic, and I'll have a better chance of having babies. And we do like babies here. Cool. So the next thing I like to do just before I start, I need to do two things. So firstly, I want to check the laws of my land. So we'll talk about these later, but basically this is just determines how much tax you get, how many, so this is taxation. Levies is how many troops you can muster from each area when you raise them and want to go to war. And crown authority determines also how much people give you in terms of troops, but it also gives you more powers. For example, I cannot just take someone's job. Like let's say I don't want Stepan of Veglia to be the count anymore. I can't take that title from him. I'm just not allowed. I do not have the authority as a king. So you will always want to raise crown authority if you can. And I think you can only change it up or down once per character. So if I want to get it to max, which is obviously the ultimate goal if you want to be a dictator king across all of your realm, I need to go through 5 characters to be able to do that. So yeah, it's good to raise it, but as you'll see, like everyone who works for you doesn't like it that you're more in control. This game, a lot of it's about what do you need to be in control of, and what do you delegate just to keep people happy. But you could control everything, then it would be too easy. And that this game is all about personal interactions, people with grudges and friendships and stuff like that. So yeah, it's very cool. So that is these are the laws. This is succession laws. These are very important to just know. Most times you'll be agnatic, cognatic, gavelkind, which means when you die, all your land is split between your children. So I actually hate this. I hate gavelkind. It's so annoying. So you've built up this whole empire and stuff. You're doing really well. You're a beloved king. Everyone thinks you're the best. You're just taking new land, expanding your empire, and then you die. And then your heir gets a percentage of this land, and then you have to spend the next probably 20 years getting all the land back that you had before your current character's father died. So I don't like gavelkind. I always want to switch it to primogeniture, which means your oldest child gets all the titles. So that means when you die, you don't lose any of the progress you made, except with personal relationships. But in order to do that, you need to have reigned for 10 years, and you need to have high crown authority. So as you can see, I am on minimum now. I've got a long way to go until I can have primogeniture. So, and this pisses off everyone too. No one likes primogeniture except your heir. So, seniority, you never want to do that. I made the mistake once of doing this because I thought my oldest child was the only person, the highest aged person in my dynasty. But actually, no, I had like a second cousin in Greenland who was older than me. So when I switched it, I couldn't switch it back for a long time, and then I basically had to hunt down all the older family members of my tribe and my house and assassinate them so that my son could finally become in charge of my dynasty. And then finally, elective gavelkind. I haven't actually used this ever, I think. Yeah, I don't know what this really is, to be honest. So, but yeah, as you can see, like this is the best one, and changing any succession law pisses everyone off. So you don't want to do it often. You only want to do it when you're doing really well. Next tab is technology. Honestly, it's just not worth going into right now, so fuck it. Military is important. So this list is, when I raised 786 people from Zagreb, that was from here. And as you can see, this is 786 people. So depending on your opinion, their opinion of you, they will give you different amounts, percentages of troops. So as you can see here, Stepan, he's actually related to me. He is my nephew. So Stepan has only got a 49% opinion of me. And the laws, remember before we had the laws for levy size, I will get 39% of his troops because of the laws plus his opinion. So that's why it's really good to have a top opinion. As you can see, these guys love me, but I don't have their troops, and that's because they are members of the church, and I don't have a right to their troops. If I had the law investiture, I think. I'm not sure exactly what you need to get the troops from the church, but it's not so important, so we can skip that. Next is intrigue. This is this is a new one. Cool. So this is basically where you do your day-to-day decisions regarding. You can do three things. You can hold feasts, which gets all your vassals to come to your house, and then you usually improve relationships with them. You can hold a summer fair, which improves your relationships with your people. Not very important usually. And you can go on a hunt, which improves your physical ability and your prestige. So basically, throughout the year, you will want to do these three events in order. So you do the fair, you do the feast, and you do the hunt. No, the fair, the hunt, the feast. I often skip the fair though, because honestly I don't care what my people think. They're usually quite subservient. You can also start plots here. So let's say I want to kill my wife. You can always kill your wife, which is a bit morbid. There we go. So if you want a new wife, let's say to forge an alliance, but you can't get rid of your current one, then you can kill her. So when you start a plot, people would join it. You ask people to join your little gang of plotters, and then you can see here there's initial plot power and the possible plot power. So once your plot power reaches 100% plus, they will look for openings to carry out the plot. So the higher it is, the better, and the better chance of success. Factions, nothing here yet, but these are basically if people don't like you and want to overthrow you, they will join a faction against you. And then finally religion, I don't really care about this. It's always the Pope, he's always the best. You wanting him to like you. So, after that, the last thing I do, and I think playing this for probably about 30 minutes, and I haven't even started the game yet, but we have to go through this stuff if you want to understand the game. I then like to look at the opinion of all my vassals, because the ones that don't like you can be a real thorn in your side. So one thing I like to do is I like to put my Chancellor in the area with the guy with the lowest opinion of me. So Hater Spatic doesn't like me, so I could put my Chancellor in Rama, and he will hopefully like me a bit more after that. So that's good. We want him to like us. And that's it. So I've got my allies. So these are people related to me at the moment. If my wife was cool and, like, let's say married to, she was the daughter of the Hungarian king, then I would have an ally in Hungary. So these guys will come to my aid in times of war. Okay, so now we've gone through everything. Let's get going with the actual game.